Thank you, Tarde. Who is talking? Sorry. Assassi. I don't know who you are, but welcome. It looks like you know who I am. Guys, A Fran. Oi, Fran. Fran, seja bem-vinda. But I'm gonna be... eu vou falar em inglês aqui, tá? I'm gonna be talking English, guys. So, I hope you don't mind because this is the main reason why I created this. I'm making these videos here. So, today, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna draw the humerus and the ulna. Again, like last time, here we have the radius, the ulna. Here we have another view from the radius and ulna. And I'm gonna continue here with a few more illustrations and probably talk a bit more about this. That is a very relevant topic. For this drawing, I'm gonna use 0.3 and let me start illustrating here. Troca or olecranon and other structures that I'm gonna mention. I was supposed to get a more professional set of color pencils, but I decided don't get now. It's too expensive, guys. But very soon. If you want to help me, hit the like button, follow me, share this content with other people that might be interested in anatomy or clinical anatomy or general medical education. So here we have the ulna and this is the radius. And if you remember, radius is lateral, of course, when you see the body from the anatomical position. So here we have these are the bones of the forearm. We have here the radius, and here we have here we have the radius, and here we have the ulna. And I'm gonna basically explain a few bits of the few things that are interesting related with these two structures. Oops, I dropped my pen and already made a mess here. Okay, this bit here. This is the slip of origin of a flexor digitorum superficialis. Flexor digitorum superficialis, okay? Thank you, guys. This one here actually is the ulnar head of origin of pronator teres. this one here. And then we have this big one here, which will be approximately here. Okay, this one is the insertion of brachialis, and it will insert into the front of the coronoid process and the ulnar tuberosity. Now we have another one here that is this slip of origin of flexor pollicis longus. So this one is for the flexor digitorum superficialis. This one is for the flexor digitorum, flexor pollicis longus actually. And then we have this bit here that is the origin of flexor digitorum profundus. Here, more towards the distal aspect of the ulna, we are going to find the origin of pronator quadratus. This one. Yep, a bone. You're right. With a few bits. Okay, we have extra things here. So here we have the, let's start here. It's the distal part of the radius. I'm gonna do this, and this one is basically the insertion of brachioradialis. And here we have the insertion of pronator quadratus. This is the insertion for the pronator quadratus. Let me simplify this. Let me just use the two. This one here. Easy, no? So here, this bit here is the origin of flexor pollicis longus. This one is the origin of flexor digitorum profundus. This one, pollicis longus. Then we have here this part here is the radial origin of flexor digitorum superficialis. Approximately at the lateral aspect of the mid shaft of the radius, we have the insertion of pronator teres, and above this part here, this one is the insertion of supinator. Okay, insertion of supinator. And this one is the insertion of biceps onto the radial tuberosity. Okay, we have the ulna and the radius here. And this is the anterior view. Ulna, radius, and the anterior view. Okay. Let me talk about this one. This is the slip of origin of flexor digitorum superficialis. And well, this muscle is basically responsible for finger flexion and usually injuries to the origin, which is this site here. For example, such as avulsion fractures from sudden forceful finger flexion, okay, during sports or even trauma, usually will lead to weakness in finger flexion. And the clinicians usually access for pain over the medial elbow, and they will also notice the reduced grip strength of this area. Hey Magnus, how are you doing? So this is for the flexor digitorum superficialis. Then we have here the ulnar head, or the origin of the pronator teres as well. All good, Magnus, all good. Nice to have you here. So, where are you from, Magnus? Where are you from, guys? I noticed that there are two people here in this live, but I'm not sure from where you are. Okay, so the head of pronator teres is an important muscle for the pronation. What will happen is that with overuse of this muscle usually will cause pronator teres syndrome, which is a form of anterior interosseous nerve entrapment that usually also leads to pain and weakness in pronation and the pinch grip. Oh, okay. I remember you. Yeah, I remember. Welcome back. Nice to see you here. I remember because your name is different. I mentioned something about your name. If you don't, I'm not sure if you remember. Well, then we have this part here. This one, which is the insertion of brachialis, and it will insert into the front of the coronoid process and the ulnar tuberosity. And the brachialis is one of the primary elbow flexors. And what will happen is that this insertion here is vulnerable to avulsion fractures, especially in high trauma or forced extension injuries. And the pain here at the anterior elbow with resisted flexion usually suggests that there is a brachialis pathology in this area. I need to prepare a class for the cell division because it's been a while since last time I viewed this content. So I need to prepare a class. I actually have one of my videos here on YouTube are about the cell division. Actually, where I talk about the blastocells and all the other cells. Yeah, you need to have a look. It is somewhere on my YouTube channel. Yeah, it's somewhere here on my channel. I don't remember exactly when I made this video. I think it was 1 year ago. Since then, I didn't touch this content anymore. So I need to review before I say anything. Yeah. Now, the next one, which is this one here, is the slip of origin of flexor pollicis longus. And The flexor pollicis longus flexes the thumb, especially the interphalangeal joint, and usually injury or compression can result in thumb drop or inability to oppose the thumb effectively. Okay, and this will affect the most fine motor tasks. Now, here we have the origin of flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, this one here in white, you can see some dot lines here that are actually part of the, just representing that the is the continuation of the medial border of the ulna. It's nothing like it's nothing special to be honest. But yeah, it's just a continuation. It's just to visually represent that the ulna is behind the origin of the flexor digitorum profundus. And this is actually a deep flexor, and is quite essential for the distal interphalangeal joint flexion. Okay, distal interphalangeal joint flexion. Usually trauma or compartment syndrome. I highly recommend you to have a look at the compartment syndrome. Look for some video on YouTube, or maybe I can make a video about the compartment syndrome in the future. But usually trauma or compartment syndrome in the forearm can compromise this muscle here, and what will happen is basically will lead to loss of finger flexion, which is pretty much obvious because it's the function of this muscle, and it's also involved in Volkmann's ischemic contracture if not managed promptly after supracondylar fractures. Now, the next one is the origin. I left in white the origin and black the insertion, but basically this one is the origin of the pronator quadratus, and this is a small muscle, but it's not because it's small that it's not powerful. Actually, it's really powerful and maintains the forearm aligned during pronation. During pronation, which is the movement of your palm facing backwards. Fractures affecting the distal ulna quite often will involve disruption of the origin of the pronator quadratus, and this will lead to instability and impaired pronation. In this case, surgical repair may be one of the most effective ways to treat and recover the proper function. Then we have here, this bit here is the insertion of brachioradialis. Okay, insertion of the brachioradialis, and the brachioradialis, which is approximately here, will assist the elbow flexion and forearm supination and pronation. Okay, and the insertion is commonly tender in the lateral epicondylitis or tennis elbow, especially because of the overuse. Palpation in this area usually helps to find where is the pathology. Now here we have the insertion. Actually, yeah, I mentioned this one. Actually, I was saying that. Wait a minute. This one is the brachioradialis. Now this one is the insertion of pronator quadratus. This is the origin of pronator quadratus, and this one is the insertion of pronator quadratus. And pretty much the same. Disruption of this insertion can impair pronation, and also it can contribute to chronic wrist instability. And accurate reduction and fixation are very important for functional recovery. So here we are going to find the origin of flexor pollicis longus. And the origin is clinically significant because first lies near the anterior interosseous nerve. Okay, if you remember the path of the nerves here at the forearm, we have the anterior interosseous nerve passing through this area. Compression or injury here will cause anterior interosseous nerve palsy, which reduces which results in loss of thumb and index finger flexion or the pinch sign. Now, this one here is the insertion of pronator teres. And this insertion is quite common aside for tendinopathy in athletes or laborers performing repetitive pronation supination. Tenderness here may indicate pronation syndrome or referred pain from cervical radiculopathy. I'm quite interesting actually to know, but I don't know too many people who practice arm wrestling. Maybe these people might suffer with injuries here. Well, I don't know. Well, and here, this one here is the origin of a radial origin, actually, of the flexor digitorum superficialis. And this origin here, which is quite thin, I'm not sure if you can see properly, but this origin is susceptible to strain or avulsion in forceful gripping activities, and pain along the anterior forearm during finger flexion usually indicate pathology here, which is also important to note that in some cases can be affected by the compartment syndrome. And then we have here, this big one here, the insertion of supinator, and the supinator muscle is key for forearm supination. And this insertion in particular is quite vulnerable in radial head fractures or posterior interosseous nerve entrapment, which can cause weakness in supination without elbow flexion. And what else? And then we have this bit here, which is the insertion of biceps brachii. And this is the main insertion of the biceps, and it's critical for elbow flexion and supination. Avulsion fractures of the radial tuberosity are quite rare but serious, and quite often require surgical repair. And it's interesting to notice that that a lot of bodybuilders they torn the biceps. These usually, some of them even get rupture of the tendon of the biceps. Which is usually caused by the forced action with the elbow extended. Okay, guys, this is basically what I wanted to share this evening, and I'm gonna come back tomorrow with more videos. I'm gonna share tomorrow. I have to upload the shorts of Scapula, but you can wait for some information about the posterior aspect of the radius in ulna, which I'm going to share later tomorrow, UK time, of course. Okay, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Okay, and I will see you again tomorrow. If you can hit the like button, the last 5 people in this live, help me. Just one more like. Okay, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your support. And cheers.